International law is a specific field. International trade law is an even more niche field. So even entry-level opportunities in this field, which is usually internships, they require internships in international organizations such as the WTO. They require you to have a master's degree. So I think this is one of the areas where an LLM is required. And again, when it comes, there are a lot of debates about whether one should go for an LLM or not. And I think obviously there are pros and cons for it. In some sectors, it is not so useful for the next step in your career. But in this case, in the field of international law, I would say that an LLM is a requirement, is a basic requirement.
Right.
Yes, an international trade law, I mean, there are diverse paths. So it actually depends where you are. Do you want to, you can be an international lawyer and work in a law firm. So there, I guess you would mostly be doing dispute resolution. So if I come back to the WTO, which is where I worked previously, so the WTO as a law person, you can be in litigation, kind of in trade disputes. There are 3 divisions in the WTO which deal with trade disputes, which are the Rules Division, the Legal Affairs Division, and the Appellate Body. But in fact, there are a lot more divisions which does non-dispute resolution. So there's a lot of negotiations, technical assistance, sitting in meetings, where you're negotiating policy. So there's a lot of policy work involved as well. So there are both opportunities available as an international lawyer, I would say, to be in dispute resolution side of things, as well as to be on more policy or technical assistance, capacity building side of things. So you have a choice between those two. So international law, I mean, there are different kinds of courts in international law. So there's ICJ. Within the WTO, you have the dispute settlement body, where you have panels, as well as the appellate body. Most of international law is, as you mentioned, it's between states, so it's states. And when you're working for a law firm, your law firm will be representing a particular state. When you're working at the WTO, you're working for the Secretariat. So you're obviously a neutral party. You're not working for any of the countries, but you're helping the judges on the panel or the appellate body members prepare their reports. So it's a lot of legal review work, I would guess, but I was not in those divisions. I was in the intellectual property division. But coming back, so yeah, these are mostly state. There is some minor branches of international law, such as, let's say, investment arbitration, where there are state and private party disputes. But I would say, if I look at the whole chunk of it, most of cases under international law would be state disputes, where if you're in a law firm, you're representing a particular country. Yes, I would say there is definitely a mix of both. Again, my exposure to litigation side of things at the WTO was limited, because I was more in a division which works in the IP competition policy and government procurement division, so which works more on policy and technical assistance. But coming back to who are the lawyers in the litigation side of things, so it really varies. At least in WTO law, there are particular law firms which specialize, which have a specialized trade law practice. There are some Indian law firms as well. There is 𝗵� and 𝗵ꯙਰਨ. There is ELP. There is TPM. So these are Indian law firms which have a significant trade law practice. They handle trade disputes as well, some of them. There are a lot of American law firms which have their offices, but they hire lawyers across the range. So obviously, a lot of them are senior lawyers, but some of them are junior lawyers as well. And there are positions at the junior level, and there are more positions at the junior level, I would say. But again, the junior level here does not mean straight out of law school. You would need an LLM, a specialization in trade or international law, and you would require maybe some other kind of exposure. So the stepping stone would probably be an internship at an international organization like the WTO, or a traineeship with a law firm.